The mud in Coldwater Valley doesn't wash off easy. On November 4, 2024, an excavation crew hit something solid 3 feet below the rot of an abandoned root cellar. Iron on iron. A sharp, violent ring echoed across the ridge. What they dragged into the grey daylight was an industrial steel lockbox, sealed with heavy epoxy and swaddled in rotting oilcloth. Inside sat 12 microcassette tapes, 3 unlabeled brass keys, and a silver pocket watch stopped dead at 4:22. Engraved on the back casing was a single name, Eleanor Graves. Local law enforcement knew that name well. Eleanor Graves had been dead for 26 years. Her signed death certificate sat in the county archive, and her headstone sat in the town cemetery. But when state technicians pried open the watch's internal gears, the timeline fractured instantly. Tucked inside was a folded slip of thermal paper, a bank ATM receipt dated August 12, 2016. Eleanor Graves had officially died in 1998. Yet here was physical proof that someone using her exact identity was moving $50,000 through offshore accounts 18 years after her heart supposedly stopped. To understand how a ghost moves money, you have to go back to Blackwood Creek in the autumn of 1998. Eleanor was 34 years old. She was an archivist and cartographer for the Municipal Records Office, hired to digitize fragile land deeds from the late 1800s. She was a ghost long before she vanished. No close friends. No driver's license. No digital footprint. She spent her nights alone in the windowless basement of the county courthouse, sitting under a buzzing fluorescent tube, restoring leather-bound ledgers with a camel hair brush. Colleagues remembered her as unblinking, sharp-tongued, and intensely focused on details no one else cared about. On October 14th, she didn't show up for work. Her supervisor didn't panic until day 3, when he walked down to the basement vault. The heavy vault door was locked from the inside. Deadbolt. When maintenance workers finally cut through the hinges with an angle grinder, they found Eleanor's desk perfectly arranged. A brass desk lamp cast a warm pool of light over an open map. Her coffee mug was half full, cold to the touch. A fountain pen sat uncapped beside an open pack of cigarettes. But Eleanor was gone. The room had 0 windows, no air vents larger than 4 inches across, and solid concrete floors. The single security camera monitoring the hallway recorded no activity for 48 straight hours. She had simply evaporated from inside a sealed room. Local police, out of their depth and desperate for a quick resolution, wrote it off as a bizarre mental break. They claimed she slipped past the guards during a shift change, walked 2 miles into the forest, and entered the freezing reservoir. 2 weeks later, a decomposed body washed up near the spillway wearing Eleanor's heavy wool cardigan. The coroner noticed identical height, signed the drowning warrant, and buried the body in a public plot. Case closed. File archived. Except it wasn't a suicide. It was an opening move. In 2023, an independent team auditing regional property anomalies uncovered a terrifying pattern in Blackwood Creek's digital files. 6 months before she disappeared, Eleanor wasn't just digitizing old surveys. She was cross-referencing 19th century timber boundaries with modern corporate holdings. What she uncovered was a ghost map, thousands of acres of real land listed on tax registries under non-existent corporate entities, used as unbacked collateral for astronomical private loans. Eleanor had stumbled directly into an institutional land laundering machine operating out of her own office. The discovery of the steel lockbox in Coldwater Valley forced state investigators to exhume the grave of Eleanor Graves. When forensic pathologists extracted the DNA from the casket, the official history crumbled into dust. The bones in the coffin belonged to an unknown female who died of blunt force trauma years before 1998, preserved chemically before being dropped in the river to impersonate Eleanor. Her dental records had been deliberately swapped in the county file room hours before the original autopsy. Eleanor hadn't drowned. She had faked her own death using a nameless corpse, sealed her true legal identity in a grave, and walked away into the dark. When technicians digitized the 12 microcassettes found in the lockbox, the room went dead silent. The audio wasn't a desperate recording of a woman on the run. It was a cold, calculated operational log. On tape 4, Eleanor's calm, unhurried voice speaks directly to an unknown man over the hum of heavy diesel machinery. She says, quote, "The 1942 grant is clean. The child died in Spokane in 51. The paper trail is seamless." Unquote. The man answers with a flat, clinical tone, quote, "Process the transfer before the audit on Friday. Erase the original ledger page." Unquote. On tape 7, Eleanor reads 14 full names aloud. Every single name belonged to a high-ranking land surveyor, state judge, or county commissioner who had died in unexplained accidents or sudden health collapses between 1985 and 1997. After each name, Eleanor recites a 9-digit social security number. Modern investigators checked those numbers. They belonged to infants who had died in Pacific Northwest hospitals within 48 hours of birth during the mid-20th century. Eleanor wasn't just hiding from a crime. She was managing the administrative infrastructure of an underground syndicate that traded in stolen identities. She took the names of dead infants, matched them to ghost land titles, and handed them to high-value clients who needed to disappear completely from the eyes of the federal government. Who was the man on the tape? Who held the power to swap dental records in a locked coroner's facility and drop a body into a restricted reservoir without a single witness? Investigators pointed their searchlights at the physical side of the lockbox, the collapsed root cellar in Coldwater Valley. Title deeds showed the land was owned by a Panamanian shell corporation formed in 1996, dissolved 48 hours after a catastrophic fire burned down its legal firm in 1998. When federal agents scanned the property with deep soil ground-penetrating radar, the screen lit up with sharp, geometric outlines. 7 feet below the soil, buried beneath pine roots and concrete caps, sat 3 massive steel shipping containers linked by reinforced access tunnels. When heavy machinery ripped open the steel doors of the first container, the air rushed out smelling of ozone, old paper, and industrial solvent. It was a subterranean vault of forgotten lives. Floor-to-ceiling filing cabinets contained thousands of original, leather-bound birth certificates, military discharge papers, and death notices stolen from courthouses across 5 states over 30 years. The second container was a high-tech communications room built with late 90s tech, reel-to-reel tape decks, shortwave radio rigs, and racks of encrypted data drives. It was the third container that chilled the agents to the bone. It was built like a living quarters, but secured like a high maximum prison cell. A steel bed frame bolted to the floor, a desk, a single chair, and on the corrugated steel walls, etched into the paint with a pocket knife, were thousands of tally marks grouped in neat blocks of 5. A painstaking count revealed 7,305 marks, exactly 20 years of days. Sitting on the desk was a black leather journal filled with Eleanor's sharp, rigid handwriting. The journal entries proved that Eleanor hadn't just lived in that bunker. She had operated it. She logged daily shortwave radio frequencies, coordinates, and code words. But in 2015, her handwriting changed. The entries grew tense. She wrote about the silent arrivals, people who were brought to the bunker not to escape the law, but to be stripped of their existence against their will. High-level whistleblowers, corporate auditors, and political dissidents were brought underground, stripped of their documents, declared legally dead through forged hospital reports in distant states, and rebranded as ghost workers in isolated industrial sites. Eleanor realized she wasn't running an escape service. She was running an invisible prison for an institutional ghost network. Her final journal entry, written on March 4, 2018, contained a chilling realization. Quote, "They think I am the architect. They don't understand that I am just the ink. When the ink dries, they throw the pen away. I am leaving tonight before they seal the hatch from the outside." Unquote. Below that entry, she wrote 4 final words in thick, heavy strokes. "The paper holds truth." That night, she packed the steel lockbox, buried it beneath the root cellar floor as an insurance policy, and vanished for a second time. Where is Eleanor Graves now? The thermal bank receipt from 2016 was traced to an ATM on the western coast of Australia. Security footage had been cleared, but the bank account remains open today. Every month, an automated transfer pays the property taxes on 6 uninhabited, unregistered plots of land scattered across the mountain passes of North America. In late 2025, during an unsealed federal investigation into historical land fraud, a single photograph was discovered inside a seized safety deposit box in Zurich. The photo was taken in 2019. It shows an elderly woman with silver hair sitting outside a quiet cafe in Paris. She is holding a newspaper, looking directly into the camera lens. Her expression is completely calm. She wears a faint, chilling smile. On the back of the photograph, written in dark fountain pen ink, is a message addressed to no one and everyone. You can burn the building, but you cannot unwrite the blueprint. Today, thousands of land titles across the country remain locked in legal paralysis. Families own homes built on land that legally doesn't exist, paying mortgages to ghost corporations that were dissolved decades ago. Eleanor Graves stitched the boundary between truth and paper, proving that if you control the records, you control reality itself. The file on her remains open. The bank accounts remain active. And somewhere in the dark margins of the administrative world, the ledger is still open, and someone is still writing.